So I offer semi-permanent hair strokes, lip blush and eyeliner. But when I first started, I'd done all three in one go. So I feel like my brows I've done for the longest. Lip blush maybe 3 years ago, and my eyeliner's been the past year. Eyebrows are my favourite, most therapeutic. I've always known I want to be my own boss, but I've never known what it'd be. So I started looking into courses. Teeth whitening was going to be one of them, and then PMU popped up, and at the time, this was 2015, it was a huge risk because no one really done, or it wasn't very popular then. So I just went for it anyway and then never looked back. I just loved it. I personally think I don't think there's anyone who can't have semi-permanent makeup, because it makes you feel better. You wake up, even just being in the house, you feel nicer. Being on holiday, you feel nicer. So although it can be used for medical or people with alopecia or for certain reasons, I think it's genuinely just perfect for anyone. I don't think there's anyone who wouldn't like to have it done. So in my setup, I don't really use anything again, so anything that would be for another client, we wrap up. So I'd wrap the machine and the pen up. We have a waste disposal, so all my sharps will go in a yellow waste disposal, which is picked up yearly. Needles and stuff, we use sterile needles, so every single client we get a new needle out. Pigment pots, everything's just reused of, so we don't need to sterilise anything really, it just all gets thrown away into the waste. But anything that we may touch, like lights, beds, everything's wrapped up and then wiped down correctly at the end. Looking back at 2015, how quiet it was to how busy it's got, I'd say semi-permanent makeup just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So usually aesthetics is the most popular, so lip fillers and stuff, but the past three years maybe, I think semi-permanent makeup's really now starting to take over, especially lip blush. You find people who are getting lip blush now are not getting lip filler as much, and I just think it's going to get bigger and bigger. I offer permanent makeup, eyebrows and lips for beginners and advanced, so anyone who might have trained elsewhere or wants to better the skills can also come in and train, but I train complete beginners as well. I'd like to say they're quite in depth. I started about 3 years ago training, and every training course I do, any information that may have been missed, I literally get onto the next one. Because there's that much information to give with PMU, I don't think anyone realises how much goes into it. So every single course I'm doing, I'm adding more information in. So when I've got beginners course, for example, I sometimes say to them, some of the information you will learn is very in-depth and it might not make sense to you now while you're a beginner, but further down the line, when they're ready, if they want to look more into what machines to use or what pigments they need to know about or CI numbers and more in-depth information, when they're ready in a few months, they've got the manual to look back at. Because as a beginner, they just sort of need to just think about the basics for now, but the manuals have got all information on for when they are ready and the more advanced. All very good, to be honest, all quite positive. I keep in contact with all my students and they're on a WhatsApp group with me, so they can constantly ask questions, constantly send me the work, and I think that just keeps you in touch with them, which is nice. So there's a lot of courses what you do and you can't really speak to the trainer again, or you're sort of on your own, so I like to keep up to date with them and see how they're doing, and all the feedback I get back is quite positive, I'd say. I'd say it's grown massively. So I started in 2015, and at that time it was a huge risk to do the course because it wasn't that popular, and obviously it's expensive to start training, so it was a big risk. But since I've done it in 2015, it's only grown and grown, and I feel like it's just going to get even bigger. Advice I'd give is, when you come on the courses, it's a lot harder than what you would think, but what I tell everyone is it's sort of like learning to drive. When you're learning to drive, it's hard and you've got to pick up everything, but when you're off on your own, the more you're doing it, the more experience you really do pick it up. So everyone who's starting out, I would just advise to keep going, stick at it, because only experience and doing people will help, and that's only how you'll get better. So I absolutely love the critical atom power supply. Machines, they're constantly changing and they're constantly bringing out new ones, so I really like to keep trying different ones. I'm currently using a mass tour one, but again, I always like to try different machines, especially for eyebrows. You just want to make sure, and for lips, sometimes I'll swap between machines for both. Yeah, definitely my favourite for lip blush would be Quadrant, and my favourite for eyebrows would definitely be Vertex. I'd say at the end of treatment, when you pass clients the mirror and just seeing the face, I think people get the biggest reaction from eyebrows who haven't had eyebrows before. and some clients who've not been used to having eyebrows literally almost crying. It's just, I think that's the most rewarding, seeing how happy it makes people. I would say when clients are booking in, a lot of clients mistake PMU brows for microblading, and I don't think anyone realises there's a big difference between the two, mostly in just the tools that are used. So microblading would use a handheld tool with a blade on the end, and PM uses a machine and a cartridge. And a lot of people message me and taking a booking for microblading, which is fine, but I don't think a lot of people know there is a difference between what tools are used behind the scenes for the two. One biggest highlight I would just say is that it's a job, which doesn't actually feel like a job. I just think as a whole, PMU, it's just so therapeutic, and I don't feel like I'm coming to work. So before coming for eyebrows, for example, I'll always say come with minimal makeup if possible, or no makeup at all. I never want the brows to be tinted, because obviously I can't see them doing as much. I prefer them to just be fresh. No waxing should be done really for a few days before. No one coming with burnt skin off sunbeds or being on holiday. Lip blush, everyone needs to come with, again, no makeup on if possible. It's good if someone will bring pictures along of what they're expecting on the day as well, because it'll give me a better understanding of how they want the makeup. If people are arriving with no makeup on like I've asked, or minimal makeup, I could judge that as them wanting a natural result. And if they show me a picture of how they like their appearance to look day to day, I'll know how to adapt more to them. And lips can't ever be chapped, but they always sometimes are, but applying a lip balm leading up to the treatment as well. And if they suffer from cold sores, trying to get Activor cold sore tablets before the treatment as well. Quite important really, the first day is the most important, because our body naturally, when we've cut our skin, we'll produce lymph fluid, which is just like a bit of weeping on the skin. If that's not dealt with correctly on the day, the treatment is going to scab more and not heal as good. So I'd say it's quite important, and then they've got to keep applying an ointment just to keep the area moisturised and not dry out too much. Yeah, so over the last 7 years I've been on quite a few courses. I like to stay quite up to date because things do change that much. So I've been on semi-permanent makeup, PMU was my first one that I went on 7 years ago, and I've been on masterclasses for that since, with everything changing. I've also been on aesthetics and anti-wrinkle injection courses. I've been on a microblading course just to see what the difference was, and I've not really ever liked it. So PMU, out of all the qualifications and courses I have done in 7 years, PMU's got to be my favourite one.